Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's course, the Get Active Keep Well course. And sadly tonight is our last night in the 6-part series that's been running over the last couple of weeks. But we've definitely saved the best topic till last with our topic of active play tonight. So the series itself was designed to provide people with a platform to learn from local community experts on how to get active and keep well. So I really hope it's done just that. And tonight we're joined by Grace Walsh for the active play topic. Grace is a senior oral language development officer with Young Knocknaheeny, and I'll hand you over to Grace now just to get us started.
Thanks a million, Owen. It's a funny kind of a title. Everyone is always like, Senior Oral Language Development Officer, what exactly is that? Ultimately, I'm a speech and language therapist, but my role in Young Knocknaheeny, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of us, we're actually changing names to Let's Grow Together just to make things a little bit more confusing. But ultimately, we're an area-based childhood programme and we focus on the pregnancy to 3 period of development. So the real aim is kind of a universal prevention and promotion support. So traditionally in Ireland, people might associate speech and language therapists with kind of linking in children when there might be a query around a delay or a disorder and a need, and they connect with speech and language therapy for assessment and intervention. Whereas what I'm doing in my role is I'm working with families right from the very start, right from the very beginning, to, I suppose, really model and explore and support early communication development so that hopefully we can impact on, reducing some of those delays and providing support. It's kind of almost like that, taking that health and well-being approach. So that's why it's a little bit different, and that's why we have this kind of strange title or strange name. So I'm delighted to be here today, and again, my focus is on kind of engaging with our youngest, so engaging in play with babies, toddlers and young children, and really focusing on the power of play. I think that thankfully there's a little bit of a movement on this topic in recent times. I think we're really recognizing how important play is. Sometimes, we might think of play as something a little bit extra, or, kids, they're just playing over there, that we sometimes almost don't realize how much is happening for children, how much of an impact play has on supporting all areas of development. So I think it's really about just focusing on the power of play and the impact that play can have. So I suppose just to start off, when you hear the word play, is there a thought, a word, a phrase, a feeling that comes to mind? Claire and Owen can get in on the action here now as well. Fun, yeah, brilliant. Oh yeah, loads of fun. Shouting fun, I like it. Any other words coming to mind for people? Kids, yeah. Lovely interaction, kids, fun, interaction. But I suppose just ultimately, when we all think of something a little bit different. So yeah, ultimately there's no right or wrong way to play. Some people, when they think about play, they think about really structured, rule-bound games and activities. Others, they think play, imagination, creativity, pretend play. Some people prefer play by themselves. Others like to be part of a team or a group. Some people prefer playing outside or inside. Some people think of play as something that supports cognitive development. Others think, oh no, play doesn't really have an impact on brain development. So we've all different ideas. And I suppose what's really important, that it's kind of acknowledging for children as well, that, children have their own preferences for play. And sometimes as adults, the match can be a little bit off. So I might really like structured, rule-bound games and activities, whereas a child that I'm interacting with doesn't like rules, doesn't like boundaries, really doesn't enjoy those type of games. So sometimes we could have a bit of a mismatch about what, the play that I'm trying to support and the play that the child or the children that I'm working with or within my family want to engage with. So it's kind of a little bit of a balancing act at times as well. And this is just a really lovely poster. I'm going to read it out to you guys in a minute because the text is really bad. I think it's because of the white text, but we printed out the poster. We have it up in our office. And I suppose ultimately, I think it's just reminding us that, you know, play isn't something optional. It's not something that we can kind of choose to provide or to support. You know, it's written into the United Nations Convention. So every child has a fundamental right to access play, Article 31. And I just think this poster, they sum it up really nice. I think they sum up the essence of all that play has to offer for children and how it really does support all areas of development. It supports the whole child in terms of development. So it says, when I play, I use my imagination, I characterize, I explore, I discover, I organize, I lead, I delegate, I contribute and relate my ideas. I question, I compromise, I follow. I work both cooperatively and independently. I create, I socialize, I practice caring and sharing. I regulate my emotions, I indulge my senses. I reenact my experiences and tell stories through games. I negotiate and problem solve. I am making sense of my world and my place in it. I am learning through play, for I will make a difference one day. So again, just reiterating for us how important play is and how, you know, sometimes we hear, you know, as play as almost separate to learning, whereas actually we know that, you know, play is the best means through which children learn. So again, I think it's kind of just reiterating that message. I'm going to show a really brief video clip now. It's only about 6 minutes, but it's Dr. Jack Shankoff. I don't know if any of you have heard of him before. He's a professor in the US, but he just speaks really nicely. He's really interested in the science, the theory behind child development and child learning. And he kind of, for me anyway, he makes a lot of the science really accessible and puts it into terms which I think many of us can relate to. And I suppose he's based in Harvard, and they've been researching this topic quite extensively, and ultimately they've kind of summarized the science of child development under 3 core principles, and that these are kind of the 3 core areas that we as a society can help and support children and families to thrive through. And they've boiled it down to supporting responsive relationships, strengthening core life skills, and reducing sources of stress. And ultimately, play in early childhood is the one effective way of supporting all 3 of these principles. So it's hopefully now let us know if the audio doesn't work for you guys. Again, it's only about 6 minutes, but I'm gonna.
I'm Jack Shankoff. Did you know that the most important interaction you can have with your child is through play? Building your baby's brain sounds a little bit intimidating. So step back and take a deep breath. Parenting is much more of an art than it is a science. I'm Jack Shankoff, and this is my mini parenting masterclass on building babies' brains through play. The early years are important in terms of brain development because the experiences that young children have and the relationships they have with the important people in their lives literally shape the development of their brain. And that early foundation affects all the learning and behavior and physical and mental health that follows through a lifetime. It's impossible to overestimate how important the early years are. The most important thing that any parent can do to support the development, and particularly the brain development of a young child, is to get to know that young child, get to be able to read that child's cues, get to be able to engage in what we call serve and return interaction. Serve and return is just like play. Another one, getting better. So this serve and return, you get better with practice. The reason why serve and return accurately describes what's important about the interaction is that it goes in both directions. A baby serves a smile, a coo, a babble, a gesture, And the parent or other adult caring for that child returns a response that is connecting to what the baby did. Baby makes a sound, you make the same sound back. The baby points to something, you look at that and you point to it yourself. That's the key. It goes both ways. The baby can start it, the parent can start it. The key is how you respond. Serve and return is not necessarily something that works the first time you try it, but the more you practice, it actually gets easier. For very young children, all important learning takes place within the context of play. Play is exploration. Play is trying things, trying to kind of figure out how when you do one thing, something else happens. Play is trying to develop a sense of mastery of the world. A lot of that is done by providing an environment that's safe and provides opportunities for learning. A lot of play, a lot of the interaction between parents and young children is in the serve and return category. I would start with making the idea of serve and return to be something that's easy and friendly and relaxing. Play can occur when you're feeding a child, when you're changing the child's clothing, when you're bathing a child. All of those are opportunities for playful interaction and learning between adults and children. To help parents understand that when you smile back, and then not just stop there, but then start playing, you're actually building brain circuits. In infancy with very young babies, it's all about interaction, kind of visual, sound. It's looking your baby in the eye, making that personal connection, being sensitive to your baby's feelings. Here are some things people may not think of as games, but they're games, they're play. Peekaboo, putting a cloth over your head. Where's baby? Oh, here he is. Patty cake. How big is baby? So big. The best kinds of games create a sense of emotional safety that allows growth. When you cover your face with a cloth and play peekaboo, the baby is learning. Why is the baby still laughing every single time you do this? It's because first it's the personal interaction. It's very rewarding. But second, the baby is mastering the concepts of things disappearing and coming back and knowing that they still exist. If a baby keeps wanting to do this, there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that the baby's brain is saying, I am mastering this. I am learning a lot from this. I am enjoying the learning experience. Ask yourself, what does my baby enjoy doing? And then ask yourself, why do you think the baby enjoys doing that? And the answer always is because it is helping to build the baby's brain.
So feel free to send in any comments or anything like that in reaction to any of the video clips. But I think it's a really nice summary and it really reiterates the message that actually there's so much going on when we're engaging in really simple, playful interactions. And I think that that message about how important play is and why we do need to focus on it, but that I think what's lovely about the video is that it's not that we need to spend 2 hours a day, pencil in 2 hours a day into extremely busy, hectic lifestyles to focus on play. It's lovely that, during nappy changing time, there's moments of playful interaction happening, and that's magic, and that's helping build brains and support development. That it doesn't have to be a really spectacular hour of a certain type of play or a certain type of an activity or using certain type of expensive toys. It's actually in the ordinary, everyday moments of playful interaction when so much can happen. So that hopefully, and I mean, especially at the moment when people are a bit at their wits' end, they're juggling homeschooling, working from home, being in lockdown. We're, well into February at this stage now, and we're still where we are. And So it's kind of that message of, what you're doing, and if you can catch a moment, that's good enough. To try and pass that message on. I suppose I love this message. I obviously, from a speech and language therapy background, a huge goal that I have for play is that I know that it supports all areas of speech, language, and communication, and interaction, and socialization, and emotional development for young children. And I think what's lovely is that when it comes to play, you don't have to speak the same language as somebody else. If you have communication difficulties, there are, the play is a medium where some of those barriers to interaction, play allows us to overcome some of those barriers. So it's that universal nature of play, which has lots of opportunities for us, where we may be facing some barriers to try and support interaction and relationship building. I love this image as well, and I think, and I don't know if it's a Cork thing or what, but I think as adults we have an idea about how we want to interact and engage in play activities, and sometimes, again, with all the best will in the world, we think, okay, if I support and encourage my child or the group of children that I'm working with here to build lots of towers and do lots of team-based play and activities, this is going to really help their development in loads of different areas. But what we know is that when we allow the child to lead and give them an opportunity to show us how they would like to play, that's where their attention is at. When we kind of join them and scaffold them, they're going to get the most out of that type of play. So allowing the child an opportunity to decide how they want to play. You've got your block, a tower of blocks or something like Jenga. And again, as adults, we typically like to approach that. We know how we build up Jenga. Everyone's going to take a turn. But maybe the child wants to take the Jenga pieces and have a bowl. Let's pretend it's a bowl of cereal, a bowl of Jenga cereal. So it's about kind of letting the child lead. And sometimes it's kind of, oh God, but that's not how we do it. And I was hoping now that we might be able to focus on construction or fine motor skills through Jenga. So it's just about checking in with ourselves as adults. Am I allowing my child an opportunity to direct this play however they want? And again, maybe it is that, you can only allow certain opportunities in the day where there is that child-led focus. But I suppose the fear would be that if all of the play tends to be adult-directed or adult-led, we're really missing an opportunity for children to show us what they're interested in and show us their ideas. And in the Jungle Book, I don't know if any of you remember when the colonel, the typical standard process is that the colonel leads everybody follows his lead, and then something happens and it turns out Mowgli is leading everyone and the colonel is, beside himself when he figures out what's happening, and he stops everything and it's back to normal, which is everybody follow me, I'm the boss. So it's just, I think, something for us to be mindful of. Do we allow opportunities to follow our children's lead and play? Yeah, interesting. If you were to ask a child what their favorite toy is, or when you think about a child's favorite toy, what ideas come to mind? Do you think it's going to be like the new shiny game that's out in Smith's, and the new fancy cooker and playthings? Ultimately, the favorite toy and the best toy is the parent, the caregiver, the nurturing adult, the teacher, the early years educator. It's that people play. It's not about the toy, it's more about that the other who's joining you in your play. And especially for children, they learn most through what the adult brings to the interaction and to the play. And it's, we talk a lot about the importance of the relationship. It's all about relationships. And when play happens in the context of a relationship, that's where a child is getting so many different experiences, a felt experience of being heard, being validated and valued and understood. There's opportunities for emotional regulation, that connection, that moment of meaning with another. So a lot of the times I think, and there's pressures, and, we know that, with all the different catalogs, and, oh, I want that. And, oh, Mary in school has this really cool car and I want that as well. So sometimes we can be distracted in the toy or the materials. Whereas actually it's that people play and the connection and the interaction that can be the most powerful and have the greatest impact. Also, from my perspective, sometimes my least favorite toys are the really noisy toys, the toys that need batteries and that have flashing lights and have loads of things going on, because those toys, again, tend to distract and take away from the interaction, and you can miss moments, miss comments when you've got the really noisy, techie, light up toy. But again, it's all about, individual preferences and having a few different selections. This really important message, Daniel Winnicott talked about, he thankfully, got rid of the myth or the idea that there was any such thing as perfect parenting or perfect anything, that good enough is exactly that. It's good enough. So if we can, if we can get it right as the adults, as the caregivers, 50, 60% of the time, then that's okay and that's good enough. And again, sometimes that pressure, and I'm conscious even when we do talk about engaging your children in play, sometimes that pressure that parents might feel in terms of, oh God, when I look back on the week, how much play did we engage in? And especially in the context of the current pandemic, it's about just, do you know what? We had a really lovely chat and interaction earlier on, and that was a lovely playful moment, and that's good enough. I'm not sure if you've seen this little video clip. It's about just a minute and a half long. I'll show it to you again. I suppose this whole idea of attunement that plays such an important role in play and interaction. And I suppose it's that ability of the adult, the caregiver, the other, to be aware of a child's needs at a given time point, and then to be able to respond to their needs. And again, as adults, we might do that in the words we say, but also with our eye contact. We might look towards the child, our facial expression, our tone of voice, our gesture, gentle touch. And this video clip is just an amazing example of Dad and how he's responding and engaging with this little boy. And again, I think, sometimes we have a preconceived notion of what play is, and this is like a playful chat and conversation, and there's something on the telly, but you'll see that this little baby looks at Dad in terms of, what's your baby's favorite toy? You can see that Dad here is the essence of the interaction for this little guy. So it's just about a minute and a half. So I'm going to play, and it's just, someone else had recorded it on the phone, so the audio isn't great, but even you'll just see non-verbally the interactions that are going on between Dad and the little baby.
Okay. They need to work on that, right? Yes. Okay. Did you understand it though? No. Okay. All right. Huh? Oh, no, not this one. This is the grand finale of this. Yeah, that's the last one. That's what I was wondering. I don't know what they're gonna do next season because they did some stuff this time. Exactly what I was thinking. Oh yeah. Right, don't bring that again. You know what I'm saying? Don't do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah. Like go somewhere else with that, but don't bring it here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I said. And then it was like, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, what in the world? But don't do it here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Really? I thought the same thing. We think a lot alike, huh? Oh, that's crazy. Right.
So yeah, I don't know what anyone else thinks, but again, I think it's just what an incredible conversation and moment of that serve and return, back and forth interaction. how does that baby feel? Does he feel seen and heard? And does he feel that someone else kind of almost knows what's going on for him? And I mean, it's interesting because they're obviously watching telly, and lots of people have, you know, different thoughts and ideas on screen time. And, you know, as a speech and language therapist, you know, people are often saying to me, but, you know, Grace, you're always talking about reducing screen time. And I suppose it's that element of being joined by the parent and having that conversation. The focus was really between dad and baby, and that playful interaction, and that you know, again, a 1.5 minute moment. So again, it's that, you know, what is play? How do we define it? And again, I suppose it's that feeling of, you know, being held in someone's mind, fun, playful interaction. Who was leading? We were talking about being child-led. Who was leading that interaction and that play? It was very clearly our little baby. So I love that clip. In terms of play in general, again, it's really interesting. This slide is really interesting in the context of the current level 5 restrictions, but what can get in the way and what can make it difficult to engage in play with babies, toddlers, and young children. So, number one, how interesting, physical barriers to accessing space. So when we're in our 5 kilometre radius, how many opportunities have we? So again, it's about just, you know, some families, there isn't, you know, a safe outdoor space or a garden space. So maybe most of the play opportunities have to happen inside. So again, these are some things that can get in the way and that we might need to try and problem solve around. But again, you know, that meaningful interaction on the couch with dad and baby, or, you know, changing baby's nappy, or having breakfast within the house, that, you know, we don't need to have expensive accessories or toys or spaces to try and embed elements of play. Time for play, again, at the moment, time is so difficult. Everybody is so busy, and lots of people are just trying to survive from one side of the day to the next, never mind one side of the week to the next. Dosage wise, children can never have too much play, but it's about what's manageable for families, what's manageable in a given week. So hoping, I suppose you would be hoping that there's opportunities for play every day for children. And again, that play doesn't have to be this dedicated hour-long intensive activity or anything like that. It's scattering these moments of playful interactions throughout the day. Access, so have you got a nurturing caregiver available to you who has capacity to be able to engage in play and to have opportunities for some child-led play, so that you know, have you got someone there who isn't just going to engage in that more directive play with you? And then this is really topical, and internationally it's coming up quite a lot in terms of risk and being risk averse. And there are so many fears, people in workplaces fearful of lawsuits and, you know, legal cases being taken, being sued, so that kind of some of the barriers to play that we have are fear driven. And this fear of risk, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Finding Nemo. That's Nemo's dad down in the bottom right hand corner. He's poor old Nemo's dad is so terrified and so scared that something is going to happen to Nemo. So he's just completely, Nemo, no, don't do that, stop, don't go there. And again, it's because of his experiences. So because of the experiences that Nemo's dad has been through, he's terrified and he just cannot let him out of his sight, and he is so fearful. And you see how Nemo responds to that. You know, so it's about the difference between having some opportunities for risky play so that children can start to problem solve, to experience different emotions, to try things out. You know, obviously dangerous play and risky play are different. So we obviously don't want really dangerous play, but having an element of risk in play. So, you know, they're on the playground, you know, going really, really slowly and lightly on a swing versus going a little bit higher, or you know, jumping from those, you might have little logs on the playground and you take a jump from one log to the next, or one is a step higher. So having an opportunity to take that jump, and okay, you might fall, you might graze your knee, but it's all about, unless you get that experience, the child won't be able to try and problem solve and gauge what they need to do to kind of change the outcome the next time. But it's a really interesting one. I know that lots of people have talked about it, that, you know, within their setting, you know, there's really strict rules and boundaries around play, and that it is, you know, there is a fear-driven element there. It's quite interesting. In some of the other European countries, there's almost risky play is built into the curriculum, and there, you know, there's almost risky play centres and outdoor risky play areas. So it's quite interesting to see some of the differences in the different countries. And in Ireland, at the moment, it seems to be that there is still quite a lot of fear around those elements of risky play. I'm not sure if people have experiences with that or thoughts on that, but again, it's something that can crop up as a barrier at times to play. Another one I think that's really important in terms of, you know, I've been talking a lot about the relationship and, you know, play happening with, you know, interactions with your caregivers, your parents. And I think certainly for me, I work a lot with families, and that I just need to be really mindful that I have a role in making sure I'm providing support and modeling to some families. You know, play and parenting and so many things come naturally, but they come naturally the way that we have learned them. So the way that you as an individual have learned, experienced, and been exposed to something is almost the blueprint that you're going off. So some people that I work with haven't had great experiences of engaging in play, and, you know, they don't have that experience. So they need that support and that encouragement and that modeling. You know, I talk a lot about, you know, trying to get down to the child's level. So it might be coming off the couch and getting down on the floor. And then again, obviously there's cultural context and expectations that come into that as well. So it's about just being mindful in terms of, you know, when we talk about play, looking at all of the different ways that we can play, and that, you know, for some people, play is scary, and that, you know, they may feel guilty that they're not engaging in as much play or different types of play, but that there may be reasons behind that. What's really interesting, we run lots of parent-toddler groups, and a lot of parents come in and they you know, we might have a messy play session, and I'm thinking of one mom in particular, last year when we were running a group, and we had shaving foam and loads of different textures, and she was like so nervous coming in, and she was like, oh my god, guys, I really don't want my child to be like me and to have this like sensory fear. She hated the sensation of a lot of the different materials we were working with, but she was so hopeful that her little one could have an opportunity to get stuck in when she didn't have to do any of the touching, but that there were materials there. And it was a real genuine sensory issue for her. But again, you know, and then she was, you know, feeling guilty that, you know, they don't do messy play at home, they don't engage in any of these activities, because she just has a real aversion to it herself. But she was trying to get around that by, you know, engaging in spaces where that play could happen, but that she could be supported in a little bit. So yeah, just being mindful of people's experiences of play and what play might mean to them, or their own understanding of play. Yeah, and then this, oh God, I hate the just playing. Sometimes we hear, oh, sure, they're just playing over there, or okay, guys, playtime's over. We were just playing. Now we're going to get stuck into the work. Now we're going to do the real jobs of the day. Now our day starts. Whereas, like, we know that there's no such thing as just playing. All of these different layers of child development are taking place through play. So this quote is lovely again, you know, when play is the base and the center and the foundation of learning, we teach the whole child. So again, all of these elements that, you know, Jack Shankoff had mentioned, that we were mentioning in terms of development, you know, from a speech and language point of view, you know, maybe even Claire and Owen, who might be looking a little bit more at activity levels and fitness, and gross motor movements. So all of these, you know, sensory play, social emotional interaction, relationship building, problem solving, learning about the world and your space. There's so much going on in play. So there's no such thing as just playing, because playing is where all of the magic happens. So I just have one more very short, I'm just looking at the time, one more very short video clip. It's about 5 minutes. And again, serve and return. So that concept that Jack Shankoff had mentioned, it's that if you think of a tennis game, so we know that babies and young children will always serve to us. So they'll initiate an interaction, and then it's our job to return it. So it's like a tennis ball bouncing back and forth between me and the child or the children that I'm interacting with in a given moment. And again, serve and return through play is so important. So this kind of video just kind of shows us 5 different ways that, and again, you'll see all of the interactions are play-based, and it looks at different types of play. So again, it's just a 5-minute video clip and looking at, again, that role that interaction has in play, and again, how it's supporting that development of the whole child.
Did you know that you can help build a child's brain?
Those are bananas.
Everyday interactions can have a big impact on developing brains throughout childhood, starting even before babies can talk.
Scientists call this serve and return. Like a game of tennis or ping pong, a child serves by showing an interest in something, and the adult responds in a supportive way.
Finding moments throughout the day to do it is easy and fun, and you'll be building strong brains. You can use 5 steps to practice serve and return with any child. Step 1, share the focus.
When a child is interested or curious, you can see it.
What's this? It's a stroller.
Watch this child look at something in a book, right there. Pointing shows interest.
Cow.
So does making a sound, like this child. And mom is paying close attention.
See baby moving those little arms and legs and focusing on the ball? That's a serve.
The key is paying attention to what the child is noticing.
Oh, you like those guys too?
Look at Grandpa sharing the focus.
By noticing serves, you will help build curiosity, and you'll strengthen your relationship.
Step 2, support and encourage.
You can return a child's serve by saying a word of encouragement.
That's right. Pretty good.
Watch Grandpa return this serve by saying thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Even a facial expression can encourage a child.
Orange.
Or emotion, like this mom dancing.
Time. A.
You can also pick up the object that the child is pointing to and bring it closer.
We need help to sit her down.
Things like helping and playing with the child let them know that their thoughts and feelings are heard and understood. Step 3, name it.
Yeah, the puppy. See the windows, the house.
When you return a child's serve by naming what they are seeing, doing, or feeling, you make important language connections in their brain.
He's got bumps all over him, huh?
This brain building happens even before a child can talk or understand your words.
You can name anything: a person, a thing, an action, a feeling, or a combination.
Clean up, everybody do your shit.
When you name what a child is focused on, you help build understanding of the world around us and what to expect from it.
The baby's sitting. Ooh, the baby's sitting in the back seat of the car.
You like those? Those are raisins. You have raisins all the time.
Naming also gives a child words to use later and shows that words are important to you.
Step 4, take turns back and forth.
Taking turns helps children learn self-control and how to get along with others.
Waiting is crucial. When you return a serve, give the child a chance to respond.
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
Note that the caregiver waits here for the next serve.
See this toddler navigating a new adventure? Grandpa is waiting patiently, returning serves by asking questions and then waiting to see what happens next.
You want to cover it?
Yeah.
Are you cold?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this over your lap like this, okay? There. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Oh.
By waiting, you give the child time to develop ideas and build confidence and independence.
Step 5. Practice endings and beginnings. Children signal when they're done or ready to move on to a new activity.
Watch how this child shows it's time to start something new. Letting go of a toy signals an ending. Then picking up a new toy signals the next beginning.
Want to play with the giraffe?
Sharing the focus is important in this step.
Ooh, the big eagle.
Because this mom is sharing the focus, she notices when her child is ready to end one activity and begin something new.
X, Y, and Z.
When you can find these moments for a child to take the lead,
I'm going to try this one.
you support the child in exploring their world
Would you like to play with something else?
and make more serve and return interactions
Yeah, you wanna
possible.
sit there?
Serve and return interaction is critical for a child's developing brain. And the best news is that you can do it anytime, anywhere, without any need for toys or technology.
Look for small opportunities throughout the day, like while you're making a snack or while you're grocery shopping. What matters most is that you're doing each of these 5 steps. Notice the serve and share the child's focus of attention. Return the serve by supporting and encouraging. Name it, take turns going back and forth, and practice endings and beginnings.
Serve and return interactions make everyday moments fun and become second nature with practice. Try practicing with a child today.
So you'll hear bits of repetition in terms of, follow the child's lead, observe, wait, allow that pause. So I think, and another thing, again, I don't know if it's something that you guys might be familiar with. I know that it's something that I'm always catching myself on. Waiting is so hard. And I feel like sometimes we think we've waited and actually the 5 milliseconds that we allowed wasn't waiting long enough. So almost sitting and waiting for the child to serve. I think sometimes we miss a lot of those serves because we weren't able to wait and we're already on to the next thing. And moving on. And I think another thing that can be tricky is sometimes when the child wants to move on to a different type of play, we might, as the adults, want to almost, no, we're going to finish this now. We started this game, we're going to finish this game. And it can be harder then to kind of have that flexibility to be like, okay, you're finished, let's go somewhere else. And what I like as well is the fact that, books, like when I think of play and interaction, I think of play through books. I think it's broadening our definition of play and what we consider to be playful. My last one, and I think just again, I love this one from George Bernard Shaw, that we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. So again, I know that I was coming at things from, again, that focus it with the early years. So why is play so important? What does play look like? How can we make opportunities for play? So it's trying to make play as accessible as possible so that, we're making the most of these very ordinary everyday moments, but also acknowledging that, we're not just interacting, that it's so powerful. It's literally brain building, the impact of these playful interactions. So there's so much behind what we're doing. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or questions, or did anything strike you, or were you wondering about anything?
Grace, can I ask you a question, please?
Absolutely.
Just at the moment, and I suppose got the focus about from how much is learnt in terms of side-by-side play, child to child and peer to peer.
Yeah.
And have you any suggestions at the moment for children who obviously aren't in those settings, in play school or in parent and toddlers, and are kind of more relying on their parents to build those social skills through play? Would you have any suggestions there?
And again, I would definitely be thinking in terms of reassuring parents that, that worry of, oh gosh, they don't have that direct peer play opportunity. So again, I would be thinking, what you're doing at home. So as you're playing and interacting with each other, again, that is good enough right now, and that's okay. And they're still learning in terms of there's still that people play. So it's not their peer, but it is another, and it is parent or family member or adult. So it still is people play, and serve and return interactions are still happening. And then when they're back in their setting where they'll have that peer-based people play, and I know that, a lot of the problem solving and sharing and all of those challenges that come, and they're all part of a learning curve. So, I think the fact that there's still opportunities for people play, and that face-to-face interaction with another person and another being is really important. And again, I know some people are saying that, their kiddies really love having a FaceTime with their friend, and then others just have no interest in it, and that the screen, it's not the same when they're not face-to-face and almost hands-on with their buddies. It's not the same. So, I mean, you can try a few different things to try and keep up that connection with friends, but again, it's okay that for some kiddies they just don't quite get it, and they're thinking, oh sure, I'll see them in school again, or I'll see them when I can call to their house again. So I think it's kind of reassuring that people play is still happening, and that they're still learning skills, and that obviously when those opportunities are back to have that side-by-side peer-to-peer interaction, they can kind of pick off where they left off a little bit. So kind of not to kind of reassure you that there is still that people play happening.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that.
It's a great point though, because again, the different types of play, how you play with your peers is different to how you play with your family or adults, because there's a lot more challenges, and because social skills develop on a ladder, and it takes time to build these skills, and it's really tricky for kids early on, because again, that's my toy, and where has this person come and taken that toy away from me, and all hell breaks loose, because in my world, my brain hasn't developed yet. I don't quite understand this whole sharing element, and it'll take me a little bit of a while to get to understand it. So you're right that there's different components that come in to the peer play, but I think there's still that people-based play is still happening, and that interaction is still happening.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Grace, there was just one question that came into me. You referenced somebody earlier in the presentation. Was it a Winnicott?
Yeah.
Just looking for the full name and a little bit more info on him, if possible, please.
Oh yeah, Donald Winnicott is his name. So I suppose we really work within an infant mental health framework. So he's a real stalwart, I suppose. If you've read anything, or if you've any interest in the area of infant mental health, he's a real, I suppose, a godfather of infant mental health, Donald Winnicott. So he talked about this good enough concept of parenting. He also talked about, he kind of said that there's no such thing as a baby. A baby exists in the context of another person, another being. So again, the centrality of the relationship, especially for our smallest, for babies and toddlers, that the importance of that relationship, of having those serves answered and acknowledged, because babies and toddlers they're dependent on us to support everything, and especially brain development. So he's definitely worth checking out if you have an interest in the area.
Super, Grace. Thanks a million.
I can give a bit of context anyway, that it's a great resource, that through the Playful Paradigm, we put together play packs last year as part of the project, in kind of from the March to May period, when lockdown initially hit us, and it's mad to think back to those times a year ago almost already. But again, just to try and support play in whatever format that people could do within the restrictions, within lack of space and lack of resources. So again, a lot of what we chatted about today, just any ideas and tips and tricks. So if you'd like to look online there, you can download the booklet. So it's a play booklet that gives you lots of different ideas. And then there's some YouTube play inspiring clips, short clips. There's a piece on chalk play, puppet play. If you haven't had enough of me twittering on, there's one about people play and play with babies. So it's worth checking out for some more ideas, or if you'd like to share with families even. It's definitely worth the look.